Welcome back. Today we will show you an example of creating the robust and popular authentication or login using Spring Boot, Spring Security, Spring MVC, Spring Data, and MongoDB for Java web application. With custom user details service, Spring Security is one of the most used security frameworks for Java web application. This tutorial divided into several steps. Step number 1. Generate a new Spring Boot Gradle project. Step number 2. Create Java user and role domains or models or entities. Step number 3. Create Java user and role repository. Step number 4. Create a custom Java user details service. Step number 5. Create controller for all Spring MVC views. Step number 6. Add the configurations for Spring MVC and security. Step number 7. Create all required Spring MVC views with Bootstrap. Step number 8. Run and test the Spring Boot security and MongoDB Java web application. The following tools and frameworks are required: Java Development Kit, JDK, Gradle, Spring Boot, Spring MVC, Spring Data, MongoDB, Spring Security Core, TimeLive, Spring Initializer, NetBeans or Eclipse, and Terminal or CMD. Step number 1. Generate a new Spring Boot Gradle project. We assume that you have installed JDK, Gradle, and IDE, NetBeans or Eclipse. Next, we will create a new Spring Boot Gradle project using Spring Initializer. Just go to the Spring Initializer, start Spring IO, then fill the required frameworks and libraries or dependencies. Choose the project's name as a Gradle project, language using Java, Spring Boot versions using 2.3.0, metadata com.jamware. Artifact name is the application name. Spring Security MongoDB. Packaging using war, Java using version age, dependency, search for web using Spring Web, Spring Security, Spring Data MongoDB, and TimeLive. After filling all fields, click the Generate Project button. It will automatically download the zips projects. Next, extract the zips projects, then move it to your projects folder. Open this Gradle project using your IDE. We are using NetBeans. If you find the problems with the Gradle versions, just run this command in the terminal. /Gradle /clean. On the projects folder root, you will find build Gradle. Initially, it looked like this. Next, right-click the project's name in the project pane of the NetBeans or Eclipse, then choose Clean and Build to rebuild or download the dependencies. To configure Spring Data with MongoDB, simply open and edit Resources, Application Properties, then add these lines of strings. Step number 2. Create Java user and role domains or models or entities. We will store user and role to MongoDB collections. For that, we have to create models for user and role. On the NetBeans, right-click Project Name, then click New, then click Java Class. Give the class name User and the package name com.jamware Spring Security MongoDB domains. Then click the Finish button. It will automatically open the newly created Java class file. To make this class a Spring Data document and assign to user collections, add these annotations before the class name. Declare all required fields or variables for user data. Generate the imports by press Shift Command I key. Remove the generated JavaX management race and role because we use our own role domain class. Generate the getter and setter for all fields. Next, do the same way as the previous steps for the role using the name role and the same package name. Step number 3. Create Java user and role repository. Now we have to create a repository interface for user and role domains or models. On the NetBeans, right-click project name, then click New, then click Java Interface. Enter the class name User Repository and the package name ComJammer Spring Security MongoDB repositories. Then click the Finish button. Add the Mongo repository extents to the interface name. Then add these lines to find user by email. Don't forget to generate all required imports. Next, do the same steps with the previous for creating new Java interface file with the name raw repository. And add this line to find role by role. And don't forget to generate the required imports. Step number 4. Create a custom Java user details service. We need to create a service for user CRUD functions and implements the Spring Security User Details service. On the NetBeans, right-click the project name, then click New, then click Java class. Fill the class name with Custom User Details Service and the package name ComJammer Spring Security MongoDB Services. Then click the Finish button. To make this class a Spring Boot service, add these annotations before the class name and add implements of User Detail Service. Declare the user and role repositories and Bcrypt's password encoder for the password encryptions after the class name. Create a method for getting the user by email. Create a method for save a new user, encrypt the password and send the role for the user. For now, we will use the role admins for a newly registered user. Create methods for handling the login mechanisms that checks or compares username with the user from MongoDB collection. This method has a method for converting the user roles as granted authority collections. Create a new method like this. Finally, add a method for connecting MongoDB users to Spring Security user as called from the load user by username methods. Don't forget to generate or recreate imports. Step number 5. Create controller for all Spring's MVC views. To accessing or manage between views and data, we have to create a controller. You might create each controller for each module, but right here we just create a single controller file for some views. On the NetBeans, right-click the project's name, then choose New, then choose Java class. Fill the class name with auth controller and the package name com.jml spring security MongoDB controllers. Then click the Finish button. Add the Spring MVC controller annotations before the class name. Declare the previous created custom user detail service after the class name. Create a model and few methods for the login page. Create a new model and few methods for sign up or register page. Create a model and few methods for saving the new user when the form submitted from the sign up page. Create a model and view methods for admin dashboard page, which is a secure page that will show data from the successful login. Finally, create a models and view for the initial page that load in the front of the browser. Don't forget to generate all required imports. You will need to create HTML file writer for all those views. Step number 6. Add the configurations for Spring MVC and security. To make the view and controller available in the Spring Boot applications, create a new file for a Spring Web MVC configurations. On the NetBeans, right-click the project name, then choose New, then choose Java class. Fill the class name with page config. And the package name, ComJML Spring Security MongoDB configs. Then click the Finish button. To make the class as a Spring Boot configuration class, add these annotations of configurations and implements Spring Web MVC configurer before the class name. Add bcrypt password encoder bin. Add an override method to register the controllers and the views. Don't forget to add all imports by press Shift Command I keys. Do the same way to create Spring Web Security configurations using the file name Web Security Config. Inside the same package name, ComJML Spring Security MongoDB configs. Then click the Finish button. To make the class as the Spring Boot configuration class, enable Spring Web Security and extend Spring Security Web Security Configurer adapter. Add these annotations before the class name and extends after the class name. Declare the variable for bcrypt password encoder and customize authentication success handler class that will be created later. Create a bin for the Spring Security User Detail Service that use the custom User Detail Service class. Add an override methods for manage authentications mechanisms that uses user detail service and bcrypt's password encoder. Add an overridden methods for securing the HTTP request. That configurations also add custom login success handler using the custom class. Next, add an override methods to exclude static resources that use in these web applications. There are also a custom username parameter that we use email as the parameter. Don't forget to generate all imports. Finally, we need to create a class for the custom login success handler. Do the same way as the previously created class, using the name, customize authentication success handler, and the same package names. Then click the Finish button. Make this class as the Spring components and implements Spring Security Authentication Success Handler by adding this annotation and implements. Add an override methods for custom landing page after successful login. Don't forget to generate all imports. Step number 7. Create or rewrite Spring MVC views with Bootstrap. Before creating the views files, we need to add an additional family dialects to the build Gradle. Then build again these Gradle projects. To create HTML views that implements thymeleaf library, create these HTML files inside src main resources templates folder with the name default, home, dashboard, login, and sign up. We are using thymeleaf layout decorations, which the base page is default HTML. Open and edit default HTML file, then replace all HTML tags with these tags. As you see, we are using Bootstrap for responsive frontend. Our required CSS and JavaScript library loaded from the CDN. We put the conditions in the top navigation bar to show login and logout button. The other page put inside the layout fragment that will be using the same layout. Next, open and edit home HTML for starting page. Replace all HTML tags with this. As you can see, this thymeleaf syntax layout decorated using default HTML as the layout template. There's nothing special here, just a static landing page. Next, open and edit dashboard HTML, then replace all HTML tags with this. Next, open and edit login HTML, then replace all HTML tags with these tags. If you don't configure the username fields in the Spring Web security configuration, you should use input name as username. Finally, open and edit sign up HTML, then replace all HTML tags with these tags. Before we test our Spring Boot applications, add CSS file for custom style. Create a new folder inside this static package and create a new style file. Then add these lines of CSS codes. Step number 8. Run and test the Spring Boot security and MongoDB Java Web application. Before running the applications, we need to add role data. For that, open and edit src main com.jms Spring Security MongoDB Spring Security MongoDB application Java. Then add a beans after the main methods. Generate all imports for these codes. Don't forget to run MongoDB daemon at another terminal tab. Then run this Spring Boot application by click the play button in the NetBeans. Open the browser, then point to localhost 8080 and you should see this page. Then you can try login or sign up function. That is the comprehensive Spring Boot security and MongoDB using custom user detail service. If you cannot follow this video, you can see the articles and the working source code links below. Thank you.